From the heartland of America, focused on God, family, and country, the mouthpiece of the Midwest. This is Dale Carter's America.
Well, we're back with another exciting podcast adventure for you. I'm Dale Carter. He is Kurt Wheeler. And this is where we tell you all the ways that you can subscribe and be part of Dale Carter's America. Go, Kurt.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, that's the best place to find the podcast because you can see our beautiful faces and all the clips that we play. Make sure that you subscribe, hit that like button, leave a comment. It really helps us in the algorithm, and it helps us get to more people, so we appreciate it. You can find the audio version on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to follow us on Facebook as well. We've been posting lots of fun stuff there, some clips from the podcast, and then our stupid opinions all over the place. And you can add your stupid opinions too, and we can have a fun time together.
These are just opinions, and opinions are like assholes. We've all got one. So, I'm not sure whether ours are right or wrong or indifferent. They are just our opinions, and we love it when you share your opinions with us. And we have a great time, or a great chance to have that back and forth dialogue that I'll tell you about in just a second. First, we want to mention that we are sponsored in part by my good friend Bob Watson, State Farm agent in Blue Springs for 50 years. He's been my State Farm agent for nearly 30 years. His office is at 7th and Main in Blue Springs, but he helps people all over the Kansas City metro area. He's licensed in both Missouri and Kansas. So if you're watching or listening to this podcast and you live in either one of those states, he can be your State Farm guy with a simple phone call to 816-229-7878. Auto, home, life. Get a quote from Bob. Bundle your home and car insurance to save even more money. I've got a story about insurance coming up here, but let's start with this. Father's Day was yesterday, and actually this is Wednesday when you're going to see this, so we recorded on Mondays. So for us, it was yesterday. That's your first, right?
Yep.
And you went out and played golf all weekend.
Yeah, all day, not all weekend, but yeah.
Didn't you play twice?
I played twice yesterday, hence the tan, and hence my. I'm really trying hard to be energetic because I got wiped yesterday.
You got this dad thing down. It's like, hey, honey, you keep the kid. I'm gonna go play golf.
Well, they were out of town for a birthday party, so it kind of worked out. I wouldn't have just left all day if they were here, but they were out of town, so I was like, all right, yeah, have fun. I'll go play golf.
You could have gotten invited to Chuck Schumer's house for his backyard barbecue.
Looks like a lot of fun. Let's check it out.
Chuck has since taken this picture down. I mean, it's clearly a photo op. He has no idea what he's doing. And I think the tell on that is he put cheese on a raw hamburger. I don't even grill that much, and I know it's got to be almost done before you put the cheese on, right?
Well, you have to at least flip it. I mean, it's like, how are you going to cook? How is the side with the cheese under it going to get cooked? I mean, it's obvious to anyone that's grilled like one time. It's just crazy.
All right, well, don't make me laugh because I got a lot of things here to start that are pissing me off.
But, I will say you see this all the time, though. These like fake photo ops, that people, Nancy Pelosi posting with her wine cellar or whatever, like people, oh, I cook. I don't have servants that do everything for me. Why would you think that? I cook.
Kind of a rustic setting, too, with all the brick there, but I think Chuck needs a bra. Is that he's about an A cup there, right?
Yeah.
Pull that back up so you can see. This is why you should watch what we do rather than just listen, because we have so many fun pictures and videos. Yeah.
And he got roasted for this too. I mean, I was on Twitter this morning, like just before the podcast, and everyone is posting this picture. So they took it down, but not fast enough.
Yeah. All right. This is also pissing me off because I can't find the stack of the stuff that was pissing me off.
Well, I mean, is it really pissing you off if you can't remember it without reading it?
No, I do remember it. I just wanted to make sure I got everything in. But so the terrorists at Hamas that attacked Israel on October the 7th, we're negotiating with them. Remember when we didn't negotiate with terrorists? That was kind of the policy of the United States. We don't negotiate with terrorists. But we're right in the middle of the thick of it with Hamas right now. And Hamas is like, I don't know. I mean, this deal sounds pretty good, but we want some reassurances. You want reassurances? You attacked a democratic state in the most heinous way possible. Then you took hostages, and they're like, well, we want assurances that we're going to get back some of our fighters when we do this deal. I don't know. That pisses me off. And then, you go further than that to this country. And since we last were together on the podcast, we knew this would happen too, with millions of people coming across our southern border. Some of them don't like us very much. And 8 have been apprehended who were part of ISIS-K, and they were found in New York, Philadelphia, and Los Angeles. I'm sure they're really nice folks who just came to enjoy some Americana, or maybe not. And that's the 8 that we got. What about, I mean, if you just do the math and the odds on it, there've got to be other people that we haven't gotten, right?
Yeah. What is ISIS-K, by the way? What does the K stand for?
Who knows? I mean, that was the brand that came up, and the FBI director Christopher Wray, he says red alert bells are going off all over this country. They're here, and they're waiting to do something. Something is going to happen. I mean, this is not tinfoil hat stuff here. I mean, you can't have that number of people coming into the country who don't like you without something happening. Then what will we do? When they launch a heinous attack on us, will we say, oh, we better not do anything? Because the new playbook is out. The new playbook is out that says, hey, if you're a terrorist and you want to do something really bad, embed yourself in a civilian population after you do it. Because then the world will say, oh, you better not go in there. You better not hurt any civilians along the way, because if you do, you're going to be in big trouble with the international court and with world opinion in general. So that's the new playbook for terrorists. So who's to say they won't come into this country and launch an attack somewhere and then fade into the suburban woodwork of this country and dare us to do anything about it?
Yeah, and especially when you make it so hard to deport people or get illegals out of the country to begin with. And we obviously have no idea who most of these people are, because there's no system to verify their identity. They're bringing in children and claiming to be their parents. In many cases, they're not even bringing children. It's just fighting age males coming across the border from all over the place, Africa, Asia, South America. That's another thing that's been really astounding to me. We have this idea of the border problem, and people think that it's like Mexicans or South American people from South America.
It's
Central
everybody
America.
who's coming here.
All over the world.
Yeah, all over the world.
They know that there's an opportunity right now, so they're coming from the Congo, and then they're going down to South America through Mexico and into the border. So that just shows you what an opportunity it is for these people right now, and they know it, and they're taking advantage of it.
Well, the border's a big deal. It's a big issue, and that's why Joe Biden even finally is on board with it. Took him a while to get there after he, of course, opened the door. It's like the arsonist trying to get credit for putting out the fire, and it's way too late to put out the fire. We're going to need somebody to come in and close the border like it's supposed to be closed and deport some of these people. And, there will be a lot of rhetoric on the other side saying, oh, he wants to round them up. He wants to put them in cages. I mean, their hair's going to be on fire no matter which way you look at this, but we have a serious problem in this country. Red lights are going off all over the place, and it's too late. Something is going to happen. It's just a matter of what we're going to do afterwards in reaction to it. And thank God they've wrapped up these 8. I just hope that there aren't a whole bunch more of them out there ready to do harm in the country that I love. Okay, there's other stuff out there, but we want to move on. We've got a big fun event planned for you for the podcast on June 25th. That is going to be Tuesday. You'll get to hear this on Wednesday. I'm doing math in my head, so that means Tuesday, June 25th. Conservative Senator Bill Eigel, running for governor, will be at Funhouse Pizza in Lee's Summit. You talk about somebody who takes illegal immigration seriously. One of the things in his platform is to set up camps for these people in Missouri, under guard. If you're here illegally, you've already broken a law. That's why I don't understand why the left says, oh, they're really nice people. First thing they did was break a law to get into this country. And then many of them are breaking the law beyond that. And Bill Eigel is somebody who doesn't take too kindly to that. He's a very conservative candidate for governor, and Missouri's going to have a choice to make in the primary, and that is, are we going to be let's just get along with everybody, or are we going to step up as a state, much like Iowa has, and Arkansas has, and Tennessee has, and Texas has, and Florida has, to be conservative states that wear that red flag proudly? Well, meet this guy. And bring your questions, too, because he has a fantastic plan on taxes. I love it. I got a chance to moderate the forum for 4 of the candidates for the Republican nomination. And to me, this guy stood out head and shoulders above the rest. And he's in a fight to win this nomination. And we're going to try and help him on June 25th at Funhouse Pizza. So come, listen to what he's got to say, and then fire back with your questions. I'm sure he'll be able to handle that. We're going to start that at 6 o'clock at Funhouse Pizza in Lee's Summit. Jim Dingman is also doing something to try and raise money for a couple of causes he cares deeply about: Angel Flight Central and Shep's Place, which we've talked about before, in honor of his late wife, Audrey. He's going to raffle off the original Funhouse Pizza truck. And I may be throwing you a curveball here because he sent me you know what? I am throwing you a curveball because he sent me a picture and I didn't send it to you. So we'll have a picture of it next time on the podcast, but that's coming. He's going to raffle it off. We don't even have the details on how much the raffle tickets are going to be, but just know that that is coming. But what we want you to do is make plans to be at Funhouse Pizza on June 25th when we have a special guest, Missouri Senator Bill Eigel, running for governor. So that should be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been following him on social media more now, and he's all over the place. You know, he's really getting out there and meeting the people, which is always a good sign, especially, you know, doing these smaller events and taking questions and making the time to connect with people and figure out what issues really matter to them. So I do appreciate that as well.
We got close to being a really good red state when Eric Greitens won the governor's race. You know, and then Mike Parson was his lieutenant governor, and then Eric got into trouble in his personal life, which, you know, that kind of stuff happens, right? Mm-hmm. And the heat was on him to resign, and he stepped down. And then we got Mike Parson, who's a wonderful man. I love him on a personal level. I love his service to our state as a former sheriff. But we're not the red state that we could be. You know, why are we paying personal property taxes on cars? Maybe there's a world where if you're over 65 years old, you don't pay property taxes at all. You don't have kids in school anymore. Why should you still be paying taxes on your home after you've paid it off?
Right.
You know, those are things that he will address. So come see him. That's June 25th at Funhouse Pizza, the Lee Summit location on 50 Highway.
And also, by the time that you are watching this, we will have posted the event a bunch on Facebook, so make sure that you're RSVPing on Facebook as well. We'll share that link again, so check the Facebook page if you're watching this and make sure that you RSVP to the event as well.
Okay. Royal Roofing and Solar, they bring you part of this podcast as well. We have a whole bunch of folks who think like we do, who want to be part of the podcast, and Royal Roofing and Solar is definitely one of those. We've had a lot of storms through the Midwest. Maybe hail has taken out your roof. Might be time for a new roof. Get a company that you can trust to come and inspect the roof. And because they also do solar, maybe you've got a chance to turn your home into its own power generating unit. Let them show you all that they have to offer you. And solar really ought to be part of the conversation. 816-540-7057. I know Mike Dale is their solar expert, and he loves posting bills from Evergy that come with a credit on it. As we get into the heat of summer, most of you aren't going to see a credit on your bill. You're going to see the largest bills you've probably ever had with what's going on with inflation, and solarbyroyal.com can change that for you. RoyalContractingKC.com, another way to reach them, or just call them up and say, hey, I heard you on the podcast. I want to see what you can do for me. 816-540-7057. Royal Roofing and Solar. The roof on my house is a Royal roof.
Did you see the story that Austin posted the video of on his Facebook page?
Yeah, I put that on our podcast page, you know, because they made a mistake, you know, and he owned it. I mean, how many politicians out there, and you've seen this on both sides, Republicans and Democrats, will never admit to a mistake.
Right.
You've heard that, right? They'll never admit to a mistake.
100%.
Yeah. Austin, I put a roof on the wrong building.
Yeah. He sent a team out to replace a roof. I guess it was in more of a urban area, you know, where the buildings are very close together and touching each other, and they started taking the wrong roof off of the wrong place, and so somebody got a free roof out of it. But no, I agree. I thought it was very refreshing, you know, to see that kind of humility from him and admitting that publicly. And, I mean, they still did a good job on the roof. They just did it on the wrong roof. So it's
Yeah.
not like that big of a deal, but I did think it was pretty funny.
I make mistakes every day.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be one of those people like, if you bring me evidence that I am completely wrong on something, I'm going to say, oh, well, I'm just not going to address that. We're just going to move on. I'll own it and tell you we made a mistake.
Right.
No mistake in this. 10,000 people a day are turning 65 in this country, and they're looking at Medicare as the checkered flag, right? A lot of people are staying in their job just to get to 65 because they don't want to have to COBRA, right? You know what COBRA is.
Yes.
Yeah. It's very expensive insurance. So there are people who are hanging in there in their job just to get to 65 because they know Medicare's coming. Most don't know anything about it. Kirk Doris and Lori Hocker at Medicare Simplified KC can make Medicare understandable and simple for you. It's not one size fits all. There are options and choices to make. Kirk and Lori help people navigate this every day. So make sure if you're coming up on 65 or you know somebody who is, get on the phone and call these folks and get an appointment so they can show you all of the different things that are out there. It's a great service they offer. 816-701-6661. They're on the web at MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. All right? 65, It's coming.
Free policy review. So, I mean, you can't beat that.
138 days until decision 2024. We're counting this down. And Joe and Donald will debate next week in Atlanta at the CNN headquarters. There was a story out today that they've agreed on the debate rules, uniform podiums. They'll flip a coin as to who's on which side. There won't be a studio audience, and the mics will be cut off except when it's their turn to talk. Because if you watched the debates last time, I mean, I was just, and I'm a Republican, I'm a conservative, I believe in that way of thinking about our country, and I just wanted Donald Trump to back off and give Biden some space.
Yeah.
And that's my advice to him going into this. And now he won't have a choice. And I think cutting off the mics works for Donald Trump because he's going to, it's like Joe, and Joe's going to be wandering around there like he doesn't know where he is. And because it's a debate, it's the two of them on the stage, right? There won't be the prime minister of Italy to say, oh, no, you don't want to go over there and look at that. We're going to have a photo op over here. I don't think he's going to have an earpiece with people telling him what to say. It could be very interesting. I think it's probably going to be the most watched debate in the history of the country. Wouldn't you say?
It'll be watched for sure.
Yeah.
I'll be watching it. What day is it again?
It's next Thursday.
Thursday, okay.
The 27th.
Yeah.
So it's 2 days after our event at Funhouse Pizza. So we're going to have fun with Bill Eigel, and then 2 nights later you can watch, and then the next week we'll kind of give you our thoughts on what happened at the debate.
Yeah. Grab the popcorn.
Because, and we're going to get into this a little bit, there's a lot of fear being preached out there by the leftist media. When I say leftist media, I mean MSNBC, CNN, the New York Times, Washington Post, USA Today. There's a lot of fear out there about what a second Donald Trump term might look like. You don't hear a lot of people saying, don't you just love what Joe Biden's done in the last 3.5 years?
You are fake news.
Yeah. Don't you love it? Hasn't he improved the country? Isn't there a morning in America feel that we haven't had since Ronald Reagan was president? They're not doing any of that.
Yeah. Zero enthusiasm.
Because it would be a lie. So the flip side of that is they got to scare the hell out of you.
Right.
And that's exactly what they're working on.
You're not a nice person.
Yeah. Let's go to Joe wandering away at the G7, actually. I said G8.
Yeah.
I forgot that the Russians got kicked out in 2014. It was G8 until then. And you want to do the photo with the Pope first?
Yeah, so there's 3 clips that I'll play. I mean, it's kind of one of those things. He's just bumbling everywhere now. So pretty much any public event that he does, you just look up Biden and then the name of the event on Twitter, and you'll find clips of him looking like a
before
fool,
you play this, just so you know, Joe Biden is a lifelong Catholic. So am I. And there are things that you don't do. I mean, I'll never forget when Jimmy Carter went to London for the first time, right, after he was president, and he kissed Queen Elizabeth on the cheek. That, they got protocols with stuff like this. With the Pope, you can kiss the ring, that's fine, but the forehead bump might well be out of bounds.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. He's like channeling some energy or something like that.
Look at the look on Francis's face. It's like, What are you doing? Getting in his personal space there.
Listen, man. Hey, man, you got any of those those crackers?
Yeah.
You got any of those crackers, man? Come on.
I don't think you should drool on the Pope either. I mean, that might be a party foul as well. So where are we going next on this?
Okay, so then next we have there was some kind of parachute thing.
Yeah, this is the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
So this is in Italy at the G7, and they're about to do a photo op with all the world leaders gathered there, and Joey just wanders off.
Yeah, here we go. So this is kind of a slightly longer clip because it shows the whole thing. But so there's some kind of parachute thing going on. I'm not sure exactly what they're.
They had jumpers, parachute jumpers.
Right.
There you go. Carrying the EU flag.
The EU flag. Oh, great.
From a gas-burning airplane that dropped him, killing the environment. And so there they are, all the world leaders. They're going to get into this picture. There comes another parachute jumper.
What does this one say?
G7
Italia.
Again, dropped from a gas-burning airplane that's destroying the environment. But they're doing it for show, for the world leaders. Yeah. He's just entranced with all that.
Wow.
Now he's going to walk over.
Where'd it come from, man? Come on.
Yeah. Okay, now somebody better grab him and pull him back. There's the Italian prime minister. It's like, sir, we're over here. We're going to take this picture. And then he's got to... Do we have the pause where he puts the aviators back on? Oh, yeah, here we go. Aviators back on. Joe Biden reporting for duty.
Steely-eyed missile man. Honestly, he should probably just default to wearing the aviators all the time. Like inside, outside, while he's sleeping, just all the time because it hides his eyes. You know what I mean? Like his you can see it in his eyes. He's like...
Vacant. There's like nothing there.
He's not with it. So keep the aviators on and, do us all a favor.
But the White House staff will tell you that behind the scenes, he's got more energy than anybody. They can't keep up with him.
Oh, yeah.
That's the story.
Haven't you seen the way he runs, that little shuffle?
Yeah.
He's quick, man.
But in public, it's like weekend at Biden's house.
And then this is the last one. I thought this was kind of funny. He has a thing where he like salutes people randomly.
Right.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is this the prime minister,
Yeah.
I guess?
Yeah. Of Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
She's like, just go over there.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Just a little salute.
Well, she may well be the commander-in-chief of Italy. I don't know. Maybe that's how that works.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I don't think you need to salute her.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mentioned in the stuff that pisses me off what we were going to talk about next with Tony Blinken and Hamas and all that. Did you already flash that article that you were going to flash?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Because I'm doing things out of order. I'm throwing you curveballs.
Hey, it's all good.
All right.
We're rolling with the punches.
All right. The abortion drug mifepristone, I think I'm saying that right.
That's correct.
Upheld by the Supreme Court of the United States 9-0. Even the conservatives voted to uphold the abortion drug. Most abortions are now performed, I did a little research on this, with the day after pill. Most of them. You're not talking about going somewhere and having a vacuum hose, put up your you-know-what and all that. So most of them are happening with this day after pill, which has been upheld by the Supreme Court 9-0. So the president says after this, the fight will go on. What is the end game? Will somebody ask that question? Because honestly, they're going into this election and the only thing they can point to is abortion. That's the thing that they feel like has won them the last, 3 elections? 2 anyway. The 2020 presidential and the midterm, which was supposed to be a red wave. Well, that happened that election happened right after Roe versus Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court, and the Democrats monetized that, weaponized that, and used that to win that election. So now with this decision by the Supreme Court, what is their end game? And did the court just take the air out of the abortion issue? I don't know.
I don't think so at all. I mean, these people are insatiable. It's a cult of human sacrifice, in my opinion. The argument used to be, and I'm not the first person to say this, but the argument used to be, safe,
legal and rare.
And now they celebrate abortion for abortion's sake, just in its own, and it's an objective good to them. And they try and make it sound like not a big deal. Like even the pill, and you mentioned it's the quote unquote morning after pill, but mifepristone and there's a secondary drug that it's used in conjunction with to perform these medical abortions. It can be done up to the second trimester, I believe. So
I thought I read 10 weeks.
Well, there's in certain circumstances, the medical abortion. I'm not an expert on how the pill works, but it's still accomplishing the same thing. You're still killing the baby. So I don't mean to be too morbid about it, but you're at 10 weeks. You've got a pretty formed thing in there. You've got a pretty formed fetus in there. What you take the pill, it kills it. What happens then? I mean, how do you get it out? I don't know. I don't want to be too morbid, but you have people like this that are. I just want to play a couple clips here that are celebrating this decision, and just listen to the way that they talk about it. They say safe and effective. It's so good for women. Women's empowerment. It's all veiled under this very mushy, happy sounding thing, and they're just totally obfuscating what this actually is, which is human sacrifice, killing babies for your own selfish purpose, in my opinion.
While we're waiting for the Supreme Court's decision on the abortion pill case,
this is before
let's go over some fast facts about the medication in question, mifepristone.
Experts all agree that mifepristone, also known as Miffy, is safe and effective. It's been used in the United States and around the world for over 20 years, and it has an outstanding safety track record that's backed by leading medical and scientific organizations. Hundreds of peer-reviewed studies have even found the medication to be as safe or safer than Advil or Tylenol.
I mean,
for who?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. It's like, oh, it's safer than Advil or Tylenol. Yeah. I mean, it's so upside down clown world type stuff. I mean, it's ridiculous. We don't have to watch that whole thing, but
what you're never going to be able to legislate morality. That just can't happen. And
well, the thing is, you can't legislate morality, but you can legislate immorality. You can.
Where do you stop with that? We have this discussion a lot. Where do you stop with that? Teenagers are still going to have sex, right?
Right,
you can't stop that.
Right, but I mean, it's not like we're taking teenagers that have sex and putting them in concentration camps or something like that. But you can use, many different factors. There's culture, there's Hollywood, there's the education system, and yes, there is, policy and the power that we grant to the government as a constitutional republic to promote things that are good for our society and discourage things that are bad for our society. We have things that are illegal for a reason. It's not just things that like physically harm people. You can't, lie, cheat, steal legally. You know what I mean? And we do that for a reason. It's because we want to, maintain a healthy society and promote healthy society. One more clip I wanted to play just real quick was this Ayanna Pressley, who looks like Mr. Potato Head.
Dobbs was just the beginning. And so true enough, after that, we saw more dominoes fall. Then they went after birth control and contraceptives, then IVF. So when it comes to the Supreme Court's recent ruling on mifepristone, a ruling that was really a procedural one, it's both I've been managing my expectations given rulings on Dobbs and affirmative action. So I am surprised. I am also relieved. This is a tremendous victory for reproductive health care access. Mifepristone is safer than Tylenol. It is safe, legal, and effective, both in abortion care and miscarriage management. But I am bracing myself for future challenges because I know that they will stop at nothing to make real a nationwide ban on abortion, which is a nation of forced birth. So really do consider what that means and the implications. They are dire. They are life and death. And this far-right extreme MAGA Republicans have enlisted the Supreme Court as co-conspirators and accomplices in advancing this far-right agenda.
By the way, it's MAGA, not MAGA.
Yeah.
She needs to get the pronunciation right on that.
But I mean, we talk about the narrative and the language all the time, and the left rules that territory. They control the narrative, they control the language, and we can't let these people get away with that. We can't be like, oh, well, we need to be moderate on this issue because it's going to take away voters. We need to counter that. This is not a nation of forced birth, as they say. This is a nation of human sacrifice, and that's bad. We need to actually point that out and counter that and push strongly on that, and help people to see where we're coming from, because otherwise they're going to keep pushing. They can have the pill, but that's not going to be enough. It's never going to be enough.
Well, it's never going to be enough until you get full-term abortion and even after-birth abortion, which some Democrats have been on board with. So that's what you have to ask them. When the president says, the fight will go on, what is the end game? Where do you want the fight to end? And I know where you would have it, Kurt. You would be on the far right side of the spectrum, but the guy running for the presidency on the Republican side is basically where the world is. He's basically saying, why don't we just call it 15 weeks and call it a day? Because he's looking for the deal. He's looking for, the deal that's going to move things forward, not get in our separate camps and beat the shit out of each other.
He actually didn't even say that. We talked about it, I believe, on the podcast a few weeks ago. He came out and said that he wouldn't do anything. He would leave it up to the states to decide individually. So at this point,
he did mention a 15-week.
I think he would. Yeah, I don't know if maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't know if he said that he would support a federal 15-week ban. But I think that he is sort of, like you said, sort of positioning himself for the election. Maybe he would support it when he got into office, but I don't know. But he is kind of not really talking about it so much, and he's sort of taking a hands-off approach on that for the purposes of his election.
It's going to come up in the debate. It is, because he's going to be in CNN territory, and they're going to bring it up. Yep. So he's going to have to answer for it, and he's going to have to answer to it. And knowing where Donald Trump is, and if you've read The Art of the Deal, he's always looking for the deal that's going to move things forward. And that's where the rest of the civilized world is on this right now. And, as far as what you think and what you believe, you can counsel and coach and do whatever, but when it comes to public policy, because we are a democratic republic, where the majority of the country wants to go is where we're going to go.
Well, not necessarily, but yeah.
Really?
Not necessarily. Do we really live in a constitutional republic? Do you really believe that?
Well,
that the will of the people is actually like what happens in Washington?
Expressed through their representatives in Congress? I have to believe that because I believe in the Constitution.
Okay. So that's not what's happening, but...
Okay. Maybe, we should start sterilizing people who don't want to give birth.
Well, I don't know about that.
And she rattled up a whole bunch of stuff. Contraception's going away, IVF's going away, blah 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 blah. I haven't heard anything about that. I believe in contraception. As a Catholic, not a practicing Catholic now. After my fourth son was born, he was born in a Catholic hospital. So my wife at the time couldn't have her tubes tied. So I went down to the vasectomy doctor and I said, "Make this stop happening," because the Pope isn't going to pay to raise those kids. I had to pay to raise those kids. Right. So I made that decision. I will no longer be creating humans. Mm-hmm. I made that decision. So. Yeah. Where does that put me in Kurt world?
Oh, no, I'm not commenting on that at all. I was commenting on, the fact that the majority of the people's will is enacted in Washington through our elected representatives. That's just not the case anymore. That's ridiculous.
All right. Well, the elected representatives did not give the President of the United States the authority to forgive student loan, but he did it anyway. The Supreme Court said you can't do that. Nancy Pelosi said there's nothing in the legislation that allows you to do that, and he did it anyway. So, maybe you're right in that respect. And now the next thing the White House wants to tackle is removing medical debt from credit reports. Now, you just came out of having a child, right?
Yep.
So I don't know if you're carrying medical debt or not from all that.
We paid for it. We paid for it.
Okay. So a lot of people have medical debt in their credit report. Mm-hmm. And the White House is trying to get that removed. They say another 22,000 home loans would have been approved if not for medical debt being reported on their credit report. So what's wrong with this picture? Go back to 2008 when, lenders were required to write loans that they knew were bad. It caused the housing bubble that burst. Okay? Now imagine this. You're carrying some medical debt, but it can't be reported. So if I'm going to give you a mortgage, I can't look at that in your overall scheme and your ability to repay that loan. Well, what happens next? You get to a point where you can't make it. You can't make your house payment anymore because you've got that medical debt, unless they're going to go the next step and forgive medical debt. Why the hell not? I mean, they forgive student loan debt based on no legislation over the objection of the Supreme Court. So why not get rid of medical debt? Just erase it. Somebody else will pay it.
Yeah.
I'll pay it. You'll pay it because we've already paid our medical debt.
Yep. And it's also encouraging more inflation in the housing market too. I mean, it's not addressing the actual cost of housing, rent or mortgage or anything else. You know, you're unnaturally, expanding the base of people who are eligible for these things. It's going to naturally increase prices, just like you see increased prices for college when you have more college loan forgiveness or more programs and federal grants and things like that. The colleges just jack up their prices. So you'll see the same thing here. This is not going to help with the affordability for most people, which is the main issue.
When you look at buying a house, I mean, you look at your budget and what you can afford, and if you can take out the medical debt that you have, well, that's going to make your bottom line look that much better. I mean, if they came to me and they said, "Hey, Dale, that car payment you have, well, we're not going to have. You don't have to show that on your credit report." Well, that makes my bottom line look even better, doesn't it?
Yep.
Now I can afford $1 million house.
But you can't. But you can actually. That's
right.
The thing.
That's my point.
Yeah.
My point is there.
Yeah.
My hair's about to be on fire, much like the folks on the left. Anytime Donald Trump opens his mouth. Again, we got back to early in this episode, I told you that, that they can't tout Morning in America because that's not happening with Joe Biden. So they got to scare the hell out of you about Donald Trump. So even when they don't have tape on something, when they overhear something, which is hearsay, Trump met with Republicans in D.C. and they were making fun of the photo op that came out of that. They said it looked like a hostage scene, something out of North Korea, blah, 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 blah. I thought everybody looked happy to see former President Trump at the Republican Club in D.C. But behind the scenes, he made a comment about Milwaukee, all right? And so they're seizing on that.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, that's right. Let's point that out. And what he probably meant, and some other people have come out to defend this alleged comment that they don't have tape on. We get tape every day on Joe Biden. You could play the tape on what he says without any editing. You don't need editing. Just play it front to back. Probably talking about crime, because Milwaukee, like Kansas City, like St. Louis, like Washington, D.C., they're run by liberal Democrats and Soros-appointed prosecutors. How's that working out in the big cities?
Not good.
I mean, we have murders every week in Kansas City. Used to be, maybe once a week. Now it's like almost daily.
Yeah.
I do the news on KFKF, and I see it every morning. And it's like the same story in the same part of town. And, the investigation continues. I mean, it's almost a joke. Yeah. And the cops out there, God love you. You keep locking up people, and then the Soros-funded district attorney and prosecutor turnstiles them back out on the street.
Yeah.
We've talked about that. So they're seizing on anything to make Trump look bad. You had Mika and what's his name? Joe. Morning Joe.
Yep.
Did you see that? They basically trashed Trump over the whole Milwaukee thing. It's where the convention's going to be held. They were drinking like Old Milwaukee beer first thing in the morning, because I'm sure Mika and Joe drink Old Milwaukee a lot. Don't you think?
Let me see if this is it here. I think this might be it. For some reason, there's like basketball clips.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, they're just, they're posting.
There we go.
Here we go.
There's Mika and Joe. They're drinking.
So the largest city
Willie,
in the key battleground state of Wisconsin.
Willie, what was so funny was, so you actually had Republicans saying, he never said this about Milwaukee, right?
Well, you don't have tape.
Mm-hmm.
You can't
never
prove
said
it.
this about Milwaukee.
The worst part of this is that they have to drink that and pretend that it tastes good. That stuff is trash.
And well, look at Mika's face. I mean, she looks like Joe just farted or something.
He later admitted he said it about Milwaukee, right? Hey, can I just say something?
Mm-hmm.
To Milwaukee. I love Milwaukee.
Look at her face. It's like, oh my God, this is
but so
horrid.
they start, Willie.
This is sewage water.
Yeah. This beer is almost as bad as the city. And of course, they'll pounce on any tiny little thing. Meanwhile,
by saying
their president's about to get us into World War III. He has dementia. He has no idea where he is. Those are the things we should be focusing on.
I saw a congressman over the weekend, a Democrat congressman, saying, well, yes, we're in more wars now than we were when Trump was president, but who could have seen that coming? I mean, didn't we talk about that on the podcast? Didn't we talk about the fact that Vladimir Putin said, oh, Trump's not there anymore? You got that weak sister Biden running the country now? I'm going into Ukraine. We get back in bed with the Iranians. Guess what happens next? Hamas attacks Israel. You can draw the lines between these things. So yes, Afghanistan, a complete disaster on our withdrawal. Overriding the generals who told him it was going to be a disaster. It was a disaster. So why do we drop this at Joe Biden's lap? Because he deserves it. He earned it.
He's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. So.
Yeah. All right. So, the convention's going to be in Milwaukee, and probably that's when, maybe a little bit before, Donald Trump's going to name his VP choice. We've talked about this before. Are you centering on anyone, settling on anybody? What are you thinking?
Who are the options again?
Well, he talked about Byron Donalds over the weekend, congressman out of Florida.
He's cool.
I like him. I like Scott out of South Carolina. I kind of wonder if he's going to smoke the peace pipe with Nikki Haley. Much like
God, I hope not.
Well, Ronald Reagan did that with George H.W. Bush, and you weren't around then, but trust me, they went at it like vipers in the lead up to that election. They said a lot of very unkind things about each other.
Nancy Pelosi was photographed smiling and signing bombs that Israel was sending into Gaza. I mean, this is not the woman you want in anywhere near the military, anywhere near the White House. She is a cancer, a disaster. She needs to go away. Okay. That's my opinion.
So you're going to be a no on that.
Yeah.
How about Senator Rubio?
I haven't really seen much of him recently. He seems like he hasn't been he's obviously still in the Senate, but I don't know.
Greg Abbott, Texas?
I don't know. He probably needs to be governor. I mean, he's got a lot on his plate right now with the border, obviously. So,
who do you like? It's got to be somebody. And really, I think knowing, the Democrats will tell you he won't leave. He'll get the presidency and he'll become a dictator. He'll never leave. I think Donald Trump knows he's got 4 years of eligibility left. And if he's smart, and I think he is, he's probably going to be building the bench for the future. Right. So whoever he picks is probably going to be the nominee in 2028.
I think it needs to be another non-establishment person.
Doug Burgum?
I don't even know who that is. But never heard of him. No, I've heard of him, but I don't know anything about him.
Maybe he's perfect for VP.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, just some unknown guy. I don't know. But I think like for a VP pick, it's kind of a little bit more subtle than the president because they don't really do too much unless, the president falls ill or, whatever, or they try and take the reins 4 years later.
Trump's not a spring chicken.
Right. But I think, energy and personality is an important thing. And somebody who's not part of the Nikki Haley class, Lindsey Graham class of the Republican Party, So
Mitch McConnell's a no.
Mitch McConnell's a no. Mitch McConnell, he's probably like 95 years old anyways.
Chuck Grassley out of the running?
No, out of the running. I don't know. I think at one point he was maybe floating Tulsi Gabbard, which would be an interesting pick. I mean, she's a little bit more on the left than some of these other people, but she's definitely not establishment. She's got a great temperament. She's smart. She's youthful, so I think that she might be a good pick. Kind of balance him out a little bit, but I don't know.
Most of the time, I would agree with you that the VP pick is sort of inconsequential, except this time, because Donald Trump will not be running for re-election in 2028.
Right.
So I think it's an important pick. John Adams famously said that being vice president was worth nothing more than a warm bucket of spit, because he didn't like being vice president. There's not a lot to it. There's really only downside to it, which we're seeing with Kamala Harris. I mean, how many gaffes has she made? And the conversation isn't about how she's qualified on day one to be president. It's more like, oh my God, I know we've got Biden, but it could be a hell of a lot worse.
Right.
That you don't want. So I think it's an important pick, and I think he's taking it seriously in that regard, that he's setting up the whoever he picks to be the nominee the next time. So that's the way we ought to look at it. Who is best qualified to be president on day one and 4 years down the road?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I wish that wasn't the case. I wish it wasn't the case that it's just a pipeline, of vice president, and then you run for president. We're already, the election cycle has become so ridiculous that we're already thinking about 2028, and we haven't even had the 2024
We better
election
be,
yet.
Because I guarantee you the Democrats are. The Democrats are already thinking about the mail-in ballots they're going to have, and Republicans tend to think about Election Day as Election Day.
Right.
And Democrats are way ahead of you on this. So we need to be way ahead of them. And the bench is so full. There's so much talent on the Republican side.
Yeah.
And the Democrats, you've got Joe and Kamala and Gavin Newsom. Boy, do I want to have that debate on what's better for the country, California or Florida. I'd love to have that debate between.
Well, they did have that debate.
Yeah, I know.
And Gavin Newsom is a formidable political force. I mean, he handled himself very well in that debate. So I would not underestimate that guy by any means. But
Trump's not picking him, by the way.
No, not picking him. But I mean, you're right. We do need to be looking down the road towards 2028 and these things. I just wish it wasn't the case. It's part of the game. I get it, but it's just it's kind of annoying. Yeah. But it is what it is.
Doug Burgum is like governor of one of the Dakotas. I don't even remember which. He ran for president for about a day and a half.
One of the Dakotas.
One of the Dakotas. We have two of them.
That's the name of this episode.
January 6th update. Did you see this? That Nancy Pelosi took responsibility for not calling in the National Guard when that was all going down. I mean, it is her responsibility, or was. She was Speaker of the House. That's the most powerful person on Capitol Hill. It was her call.
Yeah. Here's the recently released clip, and we'll watch it and talk about it together.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
That is not a question of how they had. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more. We have responsibility.
There you go. As she's wearing her mask, actually, that makes her a little easier to understand than when she normally talks.
Yeah. My main takeaway from that is...
You're not a nice person.
I mean, she is just a nasty, nasty
Is that one
woman.
of her aides that she's belittling and berating?
Terry? I guess Terry is a female. We have a responsibility, Terry. And then the lady tries to chip in and is like, well, no, Terry, that's not... I'm talking. She's just so nasty. Can you imagine... Can you imagine having dinner with her? Can you imagine going to a family reunion with her? Good God.
Well, they have plenty of really high-end ice cream in her freezer. I did see that once.
Yeah. No, she's got one of those like $10,000 industrial freezers. Yeah. It's very nice.
Lots of ice cream.
Where'd she get that money from, I wonder?
I have no idea. Doesn't her husband have a lot of money?
Something about insider trading, maybe? I don't know.
You're on a rant today. Maybe you need a colonoscopy. I know you're not 45 yet, but maybe it's time that you should be calling our good friend Dr. Mark Taramina at Midwest GI Health and Wellness. They can get that colonoscopy going. And I said 45, not 50. 45 is the new 50. We're seeing colon cancer migrate to younger and younger people. I'm not sure what that says about our environment, but Dr. Taramina can get ahead of that, though, and one of two outcomes is going to happen here. You're either going to have some polyps that they're going to send off, and you're going to get ahead of a colon cancer diagnosis, or you're going to get clean as a whistle, we'll see you in 10 years. Either way, it could save your life. What the wrong answer is doing nothing, because when you do nothing, those polyps can turn into colon cancer, and that will kill you. I mean, this is a life and death thing. So get with our friends at Midwest GI Health and Wellness. They can do the upper GI too. You don't need a doctor's referral. You can call them and set it up. So let's get you screened for cancer, because we're out to save your life, because we want you to listen to this podcast for years and years to come, and me on KFKF, where I need 7.5 more years. It's very important, and like usual, it's all about me. Michael Schroer's with us as well. He's a real estate pro at Remax Heritage. He wants to help you get your next home. All right? He's been helping folks in the Kansas City area for 35 years. And he's one of the guys who came forward and wanted to be part of the podcast. I think he's going to be there at the event with Senator Eigel.
Nice.
So you'll have a chance to meet him. Hopefully all of our sponsors are going to be there so you can meet them and talk to them in person about the things that we talk about on the podcast. As far as Michael Schroer goes, whether it's your first home, maybe you're downsizing, maybe it's your dream home. Perhaps you found some land that you want to build something on. He can help you with any of that. Licensed in both Missouri and Kansas. Give him a try here if you're looking to sell or buy, or maybe do both at the same time. Real Estate Pro at Remax Heritage. That's Michael Schroer. You can find him at 816-783-5800. 816-783-5800. He is our guy here on the podcast. So as you're seeing this, it is Juneteenth. It's a Wednesday this year. It's a holiday put into place by Joe Biden. Gets a feather for that. Another holiday added to when the banks are closed, the stock market's not going to be open, your trash won't be picked up. Juneteenth. Joey B did that. Race relations in 2024. As divisive as ever. That's what you're going to find out here. But look at this picture. This is Joey B at the Juneteenth celebration at the White House. First of all, I just have to say this. The person on the far left in the sequin dress with a beard, is that a man or a woman?
That is a man.
Wearing a sequin dress.
Yes.
At the White House. And you'll see that everybody's like jamming to the music in the video, except Weekend at Joey's. Biden is like propped up. Maybe they got to stick up his ass to make him stand up straight. I don't know. But watch this. He's not moving. His hands awkwardly at his side. Come on now. I mean, you know, back in the days when Corn Pop was at the swimming pool, man, he would have probably jammed out to this, don't you think?
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
And I got to tell you,
Corn Pop.
What are you trying to do, Mr. DJ there?
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Let me just say this. If you are going to represent yourself as a woman and wear a sequin dress like the one on the left over there, if you could rewind the tape a little bit so we can see him, her again, shave for God's sake. I mean, the beard just takes away from the entire look, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah, Joe is, he's out of it, man. He's out of it.
Yeah.
Music is great, though. I think they had Kirk Franklin and some others, and Kirk Franklin is kind of weird personally. He's a little bit ego-driven, in my opinion, but his music is fantastic. I saw him live last year, and it was great. But, it kind of reminded me of the scene at the Black Church. You remember that one?
Well, there's so many to choose from. Is this Back in Chains or
no? This is
when he was
the dancing one.
The dancing one.
It's like the same exact clip. He's like he doesn't know what to do. Hold on, I'm pulling it up. Don't worry.
Well, he is a white guy. I mean, come on.
Click normally. I keep right clicking accidentally. Sorry.
Oh, that's with Warnock down in Georgia. He's like, oh boy. That's what you almost do a thought bubble there. It's like, what the hell? Oh, there's no movement. Oh, there we go. Got the hands up. That's one of his trademarks there. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And what am I doing here?
Yeah. Can you find any Democrat reasonable, by the way, who will look you in the eye and say, this guy is going to be the president for the next 4 years, 4.5 years?
They keep lying to themselves and telling themselves that.
Yeah.
I think he has dementia so bad that his brain is like, he thinks he's in like the 1930s or something. And, he's in a room full of black people. And I'll just leave it at that. You can imagine what thoughts he's having.
Right. Well, he was one of the co-authors of the 94 crime bill, which, put a lot of black people in prison. I believe in putting criminals in prison. I don't care what color they are. So let's get on that. So here we are, Juneteenth and race relations in 2024. And wouldn't it just be something if we could put this behind us? The reason we can't put it behind us is because of people like Joe Biden, because of people like Kamala Harris and Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, because there's money to be made. There's money to be made in keeping us divided. And I'm going to talk about this on my show on KFKF, and we're going to play some clips from Joe Biden. The famous clips of when he was running with Barack Obama against Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney, who they love now. Joe Biden stood up in front of a full, I think it was a church then too, and said, they're going to put you all back in chains. I mean, that's not incendiary?
Yeah. If you don't know whether you're voting for me or Donald Trump, you ain't black.
That sounds pretty incendiary to me as well. The speech he made, do we have that clip, the one that he made from this event about how bad Republicans are and how they're turning back the clock on you and they're going to make it more difficult to vote and all that? Where's the proof of any of that? You had the Georgia bill that went through, and they said, oh, this is going to be terrible for black people, terrible for black people. You know what happened? They had record turnout. This after they got Major League Baseball to move the All-Star game out to Denver, which cost black-owned businesses a lot of business.
I can't find the clip right now.
And then, are they concerned at all about what's happening in these cities, like Milwaukee? Let's throw that out as an example, where we have black-on-black violence every day. Nope, that doesn't fit the narrative. The only narrative that gets fit is when a white person kills a black person. Then it's the end of the world as we know it, and this is proof that all Republicans are racist.
There you have it.
Yeah. So that's what's going on here. And the Democrats are terrified, Kurt. They're terrified right now because Trump is peeling off minority support. And I mentioned Byron Donalds. He's black. He's a congressman in Florida. And Trump met with some black folks in Michigan. And it's like a Republican campaigning in a black area in Michigan. Have they lost their minds? No, they haven't lost their minds. Trump is gaining in those areas because black people are no longer a monolith. It was, for a long time, 96% voting for Democrats. They take it for granted every time. And now, Biden's pissed because Trump's peeling off some of those people. And you're going to hear more desperation in the weeks leading up to the election. It's going to make what he said the last time of, if you can't figure out whether you're for me or Trump, you ain't black.
Yeah. This is a story from USA Today from yesterday, surveyed 500 black residents of every state. And Biden, based on that polling, his support from 2020 to now has fallen 20 percentage points in Pennsylvania and 22 points in Michigan. Exit polls in 2020 show Biden received 92% of the black vote in each state. Biden was viewed favorably by 61% in Michigan and 59% in Pennsylvania. So his numbers are going way down. They go on to say that Trump's numbers are creeping up marginally, but less than Biden's are going down. So I think that, people are disenfranchised by Biden, but not necessarily jumping on the Trump train yet. But, we'll see. But you can look at this. It's obviously Trump's favorability is very low in the community, in the black community, compared to these other people, Kamala, Joe, Barack. But all he really needs to do is make small headways. And, if he gets 20, 30, 40%, even 30% reliably, it's over for them. Trump is a unique figure. So is that going to carry on to Republican politicians in the future? Tough to say.
Well, it depends. If you're talking to black people about what they care about, you should get their support, right? And if you're making headway in the things that black people care about, black people are like white people, right? They care about inflation. They care about security. Mm-hmm. They want to know that when their kids go off to school walking down the street, they're not going to get gunned down in the street. They want to know when they go to the grocery store, they're not going to have to decide whether it's groceries or paying the mortgage this year. People are people, and they're seeing what's going on here. And for the first time in a long time in America, you have a wonderful contrast. You've got what happened during Trump's 4 years against what's happened in Biden's nearly 4 years. And I think it's a pretty stark contrast. Now, what Democrats want to call your attention to is the last part of Trump's presidency when we were hit with a worldwide pandemic and nobody knew what the hell was going on, right? They don't want you to think about the first 3 years. They want you to think about that last year when things were a little chaotic. And even when Donald Trump left the White House, you may remember this, he left, right? He didn't stay beyond January 20th at noon. They didn't have to call in the Marines to get him out of the Oval Office. He said, look, we're going to have a new president. And, my advice to him, he wrote a note to Biden on the way out. I don't know what the note said, but he said, my advice on the way out on the economy is don't do anything. It's going to come back. Don't do anything. Well, Biden couldn't do that, right? He had a slew of executive orders. He tampered with everything. Anything Trump did, they turned upside down. How's that working out for you?
Not good, frankly.
And we're going to find out, at 130 some odd days when we have election day, and we'll decide whether we want to keep going down this path. And Republicans are going to have fear as well in their arsenal. But the fear that Republicans are leading with is what's happening. Our border, crime, inflation, those are things that are happening, right? It's not, oh my God, he'll never leave. We'll never have another election again in the history of this country.
Yeah, that's actually true stuff.
Yeah, the fear that's coming from the other side is hyperbolic, and ask them to prove it. When they say that we're racist, say prove it, right? And let's have that discussion. And if we are, let's clean that up. Let's clean up some things that maybe we ought to open our eyes to. But don't give me all this bullshit, because that's exactly what it is. It's complete bullshit. Unlike Bob Watson. Bob Watson's a good guy. And I thought about something else that pissed me off today. And I wanted to tie it into Bob Watson because he's a great insurance agent at State Farm. We've got that ship that hit the Francis Scott Key Bridge in the Baltimore Harbor, took it down. It's going to cost over $1 billion to get that thing repaired. So here's my question. We know what happened. We have video, right? The boat owned by a private company hit that thing and knocked the bridge down. Don't they have any, responsibility at all in paying for it? Why do the taxpayers have to pay for it? Don't they have insurance? Shouldn't they, aren't they bonded for stuff like this that happens? Why do we have to pay for it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess because
why?
A public, because it's a interstate or something, they would deem that to be under public. My camera's not. I unplugged my camera.
Okay. So, we know what happened. We've seen the video.
Yeah.
This boat owned by a private company hit the pier and knocked the bridge down.
Yeah, here's the video again. Kaboom!
Yeah. I just think that, they have some responsibility in helping to pay for it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And if they had State Farm insurance, by God, they'd have been covered. Now, there goes your video. I mean, people got killed in this thing. There weren't as many as could be if it had been during morning rush hour. There were minimal casualties and all that, but it's going to cost over $1 billion to get that thing fixed. And Maryland says we don't have the money. The Fed's going to have to pay it. And why the hell not? We're $35 trillion in debt. What's another billion?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Just write a check. So I have insurance. I know Kurt has insurance. I wonder about people who have expired temp tags. Do they have insurance? Just know that if I hit you with my car, my next call is going to be to Bob Watson. He's going to be, damn it, Dale, you did it again. What are you doing here? 816-229-7878. He's a great insurance guy. He's been doing State Farm for 50 years, and I have been in the chair in his office, and he's had to give me the lecture a time or two, especially when my kids first started driving. But you want to have the best insurance. It's very important for you and everything that you own. Everything you take out of your house, when you drive away, you need to have it insured because something might happen. And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Bob Watson is there. Bundle your home and car insurance to save even more. Licensed in Missouri and Kansas. Auto, home, and life. He's my guy. Let's make him your guy. Bob Watson, State Farm, 816-229-7878. Before we go, in this country, the politicians, I was looking for a better word to put in there, that are out there saying that you can be whatever you want to be. If you're a man and you got a schlong from here to here and you want to call yourself a woman, just tuck that thing up and call yourself a woman, right? That's what Lia Thomas is, right?
Gross.
Sorry. That won't be on the promo, by the way. It's barely on the podcast. So the Olympic Committee says no to Lia Thomas. They have the balls, if you will, to do what the NCAA won't do. The IOC, the International Olympic Committee, says you can call yourself whatever you want, and I'm okay with that too. You know, if Larry or whatever, Bob, Phil, whatever Thomas's born name is, if you want to call yourself a woman, call yourself a woman. Hell, put on a nice, pretty sequin dress and grow a beard. You can be whatever you want to be, right? You could be standing next to Joe Biden at the White House at an event. I don't care. You just can't compete with biological women.
Yep.
And that's what this guy did. He was a terrible swimmer compared to men in the NCAAs and said, you know what? I'm feeling kind of like I'm a woman right now, and broke every record in women's swimming. What is the point?
Yeah, I think he was ranked like 230th or something like that. I don't remember exactly.
A far cry from number one, breaking records.
Very far. Very far.
So to the Olympic Committee, who said, no, Lia, you can't compete with the other girls, we say, hear, hear. And until Tuesday, when we see you at the special live edition of Dale Carter's America with Senator Bill Eigel, I'm sure he's on the same page with us with this too, right?
Yeah, I'm excited to meet him.
Pretty sure. Good guy. We'll see you at Funhouse Pizza, 50 Highway in Lee Summit. That is Tuesday night, June 25th at 6 p.m. sharp. Grab yourself a pizza, some cold beverages, and be ready to ask questions based on where Senator Eigel stands on the issues. We'll see you there next Tuesday. Until then, this is Dale Carter's America.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.